It's the last day of the month of June. Good morning and welcome to the Class Breakfast News. The news is live on Class 91.3 FM in Accra, Ho FM 92.5 in the Volta region, Dagban FM 102.5 in Tamale, Radio 192.1 in the Upper West region, Radio Power 96 in Spain. Around the world, join us on classfmonline.com. Coming up in this bulletin, devastating floods leave trails of destruction across Greater Accra. Meanwhile, President Mahama assures Ghanaians of government support.
NADMO will do what it can to try and identify the victims and see how we can just support them in a way in the next few days. I've asked the Minister of Finance to release some money from the contingency fund so that we can do some post-flood relief.
The Ghana National Fire Service rescues 479 people as floods. Fire claims 5 lives. No government concludes World Cup Group Stage ticket support scheme. Coming up also in African news, South Africa on edge as anti-immigration protests begin today. Meanwhile, President Ramaphosa warns against violence and intimidation. These plus many other stories coming your way shortly.
This is the Class Breakfast News.
I am Elizabeth Aidoo and you're welcome to Class 91.3 FM. Let's settle for the details of the news. Heavy rains that pounded part of the Greater Accra region on Monday left a trail of destruction, claiming lives, displacing residents and disrupting transport, electricity supplies and businesses. As emergency team continue rescue and recovery efforts, concerns are mounting over the recurring impact of flooding in the capital. There's more in this following news desk report.
People have been confirmed dead following Monday's devastating floods that swept across large parts of Greater Accra region after hours of torrential rainfall. The Ghana National Fire Service says the fatalities have been confirmed through its officers deployed to affected communities, warning that the death toll could rise as search and rescue operations continue. Emergency respondents, including personnel from the Fire Service, NADMO, the Ghana Police Service and the Ghana Armed Forces have been working around the clock to rescue trapped residents, evacuate vulnerable persons and access the extent of the destruction. The floods submerged homes, vehicles and businesses, leaving thousands of commuters stranded and rendering several major roads impassable. Among the worst hit areas were Alaju, Sekel, Kaneshi, Adabraka, Achimota, Weja, Madina, Adenta, La Paz and sections of the Spintesh Road, where floodwaters disrupted transport and commercial activities. The heavy rains also disrupted electricity supply after critical power infrastructure was affected, while some educational institutions suspended lectures and examination because of the dangerous condition. Government has urged residents in flood-prone communities to remain vigilant, avoid driving or walking through floodwaters, and cooperate with emergency responders as rescue and recovery efforts continue. Authorities are also appealing to the public to report emergencies promptly as assessment continues across affected communities. The latest disaster has once again renewed calls for sustained investment in drainage infrastructure, improved waste management, and stricter enforcement against building on waterways to reduce the reoccurring impact of floods in the capital.
That was the report on yesterday's flood. Meanwhile, President Mahama yesterday also told some of the communities affected by the devastating fire to assess the extent of the destruction. Following the aerial inspection, President Mahama assured affected residents of government's commitment to relieve and support them.
For a period of 30 days in June, we had 85 millimeters of rain. And then in 2025, it increased to 172. And then in 2026, for the same 30-day period in June, it increased to 333. Major government departments and then also create a new center of growth so that our people will start building outside Accra in a new city instead of everybody looking for some space in Accra to build. So, but that's a long-term solution. Like I said, it's a 20-year project. They are still working on the designs. Once they do that, we'll demarcate, people can start buying plots. If they like, they can start building houses. We'll do the roads, bring the water and electricity so that it eases the pressure on Accra as a city. But I just want to express my sympathy with people who have lost property. Loss of property has been very extensive. I want to thank the military, Aidoo, the police, and the Aidoo Works and Housing Ministry, and all the emergency response team, 48th Engineers Regiment, for the rescue that they did. I've seen many of the videos where people had to be carried out of their houses. They deployed their boats, and they helped to save quite a lot of lives. Aidoo will do what it can to try and identify the victims and see how we can just support them in a way in the next few days. I've asked the Minister of Finance to release some money from the contingency fund so that we can do some post-flood relief for persons who have been affected. Let us find a permanent solution to this Accra flooding problem. We shouldn't become like the vulture who, anytime it is raining, he says as soon as it stops raining, he will repair his roof. And then as soon as it stops raining, he says, oh, it has stopped raining, so there's no need to repair the roof.
That was President John Dramani Mahama speaking after yesterday's storm. Meanwhile, nearly 500 people have been rescued by the Ghana National Fire Service after the heavy rains, floods and fire outbreak that triggered multiple emergencies across Accra, Tema and surrounding areas over a 3-day period. The Ghana National Fire Service says it rescued or safely evacuated 479 people during emergency operations carried out between June 28 and June 30. The service responded to multiple fire outbreaks, flood emergencies, rescue operations, and building collapse. 5 people died, 1 person was injured, and another remained missing. Among the major incidents were domestic and commercial fires at Latibio, Koshi, and Labadi. A fatal 4 tanker fire at Esutari along the Accra-Kusumbo Highway, and widespread flood rescue operation following Monday's heavy rains. At Aidoo last stop, a joint operation involving the Ghana National Fire Service, the Ghana Police Service, Marine Unit, NADMO, and the Ghana Armed Forces rescued 105 people trapped by floodwaters in Tema. Firefighters responded to 23 emergency incidents within 24 hours, including fires, floodings, and falling tree, rescuing 12 people and assisting more than 50 residents to safety. We'll be engaging the National Fire Service later in our bulletin right here on Class 91.3 FM. Now, the Chief Executive Officer of the Environmental Protection Agency, Professor Nana Ama-Botwe, has also announced that the agency will begin dredging rivers polluted and distilled by illegal mining and other human activities before proceeding with the planned chemical treatment of affected water bodies. She explained that the revised approach is to first, restore water flow in blocked river channels to improve drainage, which would then enhance the effectiveness of the chemical treatment. The intervention, she noted, is also expected to help reduce flooding in affected areas.
Now, water bodies, that is proven. One challenge we also encountered is that the waters are not flowing, and so even if you treat the flowing river, it doesn't really flow because the rivers are choked or blocked with silt. So the first thing to do is to dredge and allow the flow, and then you can now apply the Ionet nano copper to clean the river. That will remove the heavy metals, and it will also help with the turbidity levels. This will equally allow the Ghana Water Companies to get good enough water to treat for our potable water that we need. From the EPA's assessment throughout the countries, we have also realized that most river paths are choked because of silt, sand that are in the rivers. We also see that some illegal miners, illegal other activities are diverted the river path through other areas. What EPA will do is not just to dredge the rivers, will do a whole engineering, allowing the rivers to flow to their source where they come from to where they need to go into the ocean eventually. Now, wetland areas, which has been also used up by our same people, so we need to also allow the wetlands to function. There are storage areas for these unused waters when it rains. We need to allow the wetlands to also function as part of our ecosystem. And that EPA is going to ensure that is done. EPA will be collaborating with the land use and planning people or company to allow the waterways that have been blocked by houses and other built environments. So we allow, when it rains, water to flow to wetland areas, to river areas, and then eventually to the sea. And we believe that next year, this situation we are seeing now will not happen again in our.
That's the Chief Executive Officer of the Environmental Protection Agency, Professor Nana Brown-Kluche. Still on flood-related issues, the New Patriotic Party has strongly criticized the government's handling of the recurring flood situation, which has once again affected several parts of Accra. In a statement issued from its headquarters, the NPP commiserated with thousands of Ghanaians impacted by the floods, but accused the administration of failing to show seriousness in implementing sustainable anti-flood interventions. The party described the situation as a recurring crisis, citing affected areas such as the N1 highway, Achimoto, Kaneshi, Weja, Spinters, Dakuma Junction, and the Kwame Nkrumah interchange, which is set to continue to suffer repeated flooding. It further raised concerns about what it called confusion in the coordination of flood management, alleging unclear mandate between key ministries and ineffective oversight in the national response system. The NPP is calling for urgent reforms, including the consolidation of flood management under one accountable ministry, a full account of anti-flood interventions, and stronger coordination with local assemblies and technical experts to address drainage and sanitation challenges. The party says it stands with all affected families and will continue to hold government accountable over what it described as worsening situation. Let's move away from flood issues because the High Court has deferred judgment in the Saminboy mining case involving NPP Ashanti Regional Chairman Wontumi, known as Bernard Entwibosiako. This follows an application by his new counsel, Samuel Atachia, seeking additional time to file written submission for the defense. The court granted the request and adjourned proceeding. Mamiaba Brew has more in this report.
Ashanti Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Bernard Entwibosiako, appointed lawyer Samuel Atachia as his new lead counsel to continue with the Saminboy trial after lawyer Andy Appiah could be withdrew from the case. Prior to the appointment of lawyer Atachia, the final judgment of the alleged illegal mining at Saminboy was supposed to have been heard on the 3rd of July. However, the new lead counsel filed an application at the Accra High Court seeking to adjourn the judgment to give the defense additional time